course, no dinner party would be a success without finishing off with some chocolates. So today we're going to make real chocolate truffles. The reason I say that they're real is that they have eggs and cream and butter, so they need to be stored in the fridge, and they are very decadent, and they will be a great treat to finish off your dinner party. So we'll get straight into it. In my container here I've got 5 tablespoons of butter. So we're going to put them into a generous size pot, and we want to just get that butter melting. So we're on a not too high heat, just to get that melted. I also have some cream that I've actually got here, 1/4 cup, and I need 5 large egg yolks. So we're going to just separate our eggs, and we can mix our cream and our egg yolks together. Now if your yolks happen to be quite small, then don't hesitate putting another yolk into the mixture. You want to have sort of good size yolks. And if they break, that's not an issue either, because they're going to get all mixed up with the chocolate. Now, there's alcohol involved with this. If you don't want to put alcohol in, that's fine, just leave it out. It doesn't affect the recipe. But whatever alcohol you do put in is up to you. Today I'm using some Ruby Port, but I have made these before with vodka. I've made them with gin, and the gin ones are really nice. Any of your flavoured liqueurs are nice as well, so you could use Cointreau or Grand Marnier for an example as well, and that turns out really nice too. So our last one there. And of course, don't throw your egg whites out. You can make a wonderful little Pav roll with those. So my butter's just on melted. We'll just take our wooden spoon and just break up those last couple of bits. Now this recipe does take a bit of watching, because if you don't watch it and look after it, what you might end up with is really rich scrambled eggs, because basically we've got eggs and cream, which are the basis for scrambled eggs. So if we cook our mixture too quickly, then we're going to have scrambled eggs. So we're on a low heat. In goes the cream and the egg yolks, making sure you get all of that in there, and you want to stir that together. Now if you think that it's thickening up like scrambled eggs, just take it off the heat like I've done, just to get that mixed together. And what we want to happen is we want this just to lightly thicken up. And I say in the recipe that you might see little wisps of heat coming from around the outsides of the pot. So I can see already, because the heat I had in there, that mixture has thickened up already really quickly. So I'm not going to put that back onto the heat. There's enough heat in my pot to start the mixture going. So keep stirring it. So I'm going to turn my heat off, and what we do now is we add our chocolate. So 450 grams of chocolate. I've roughly chopped that in the food processor, basically to make it easy to melt down. You could grate it if you don't have a food processor, then grate the chocolate as well. But you want it reasonably fine so it will actually melt down within the mixture. So keep stirring it. That chocolate's going to melt. So there's usually enough heat from the eggs and the cream mixture and the heat of the pot to melt the chocolate. At this stage we can also add our liqueur. So in my case, in goes my Ruby Port. And we're going to stir that in as well. Now this has to go into the fridge to set, to firm up, so we can then actually form our truffles. So that's just about smooth. Those last few bits of chocolate are just melting down. So I'm going to leave that there. That's really good. So I would then just tip that into a container and put it into the fridge, cover it or put a lid on it, and then I could then do the next stage. So we're going to leave that sitting there. So here you have what it ends up looking like. So here's the mixture, really nice and firm in the fridge. I've just taken this out and left it out for about 15 minutes, just to not soften up, but just to come to room temperature. In my container here, I've got just some hot chocolate, just the normal powder you'd make hot chocolate with. So I'm actually going to roll these in the hot chocolate. You could roll them in cocoa, but I find the cocoa is a wee bit too bitter. You could roll them in, for example, some nut dust. So you could actually process some nuts, some hazelnuts or some walnuts, and roll them in that as well. But a lot of people don't like nuts these days, so that's why I steer clear of them. So I find the hot chocolate's really good. Take a spoon. I'm just going to warm it up a wee bit under the the hot tap, and we'll just give that a wipe. That's just going to help us scoop it out. So we take out our mixture, and we want to roll these into some nice truffles. So just into a ball, working reasonably quickly into the hot chocolate powder, and then just carefully taking them out. And I'm presenting them today in little Asian spoons that you would have in a Chinese restaurant or any sort of Asian type restaurant. It's just a different way. So when you're making food these days, it's just also thinking about how you're going to present that food. So it's just keeping it a wee bit different. So again, into the chocolate, carefully pick it up. So of course, when you take these to your guests, they've got their own individual spoon. They don't have to eat it off the spoon. They can still pick it up from the spoon. We'll just take a wee bit off that. You want to always make sure they're all roughly the same size. So if someone gets a bigger one than somebody else, we'll have arguments at the end of the dinner party. And one more to finish off, because remember we're doing our dinner party for 4 guests. Pick that last one up. Just a bit of a wipe down there. So there you have it, our wonderful real chocolate truffles, in this case some port chocolate truffles. If you're going to serve them now, that would be great, straight out to your guests. If not, put them into the fridge in this state and then replate them onto your plate before you take them out to your dinner guests. What a wonderful treat to finish off your dinner party. Here we have your port chocolate truffles to finish off. Well, that brings us into the series of Dinner with Scott. I hope you've enjoyed it.